All right, well, we'll go ahead
Well,
and get started if that's all right.
sure thing.
All right, so welcome to our Tuesday Talent Series. Our session today is Grow Your Business Through Hiring the Right Team with Steve Morris. We're super excited to have Steve with us today. Our sponsor of our 2023 Tuesday Talent Series is Plant Moran. Plant Moran is among the nation's largest accounting, tax, consulting, and wealth management firms and provides a full line of services to organizations in the following industries: manufacturing and distribution, financial services, service, healthcare, private equity, public sector, real estate, construction, and energy. Plant Moran has a staff of more than 3,300 professionals throughout the United States, with international office in Shanghai, China, Mumbai, India, Tokyo, Japan, and Monterrey, Mexico. In Colorado, Plant Moran has served its Colorado clients for more than 40 years, with offices in Broomfield, Denver, and Fort Collins. Plant Moran has been recognized by a number of organizations, including Fortune magazine, as one of the country's best places to work. For more information, visit plantmoran.com. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Steve. Steve is a certified EOS implementer and business coach based in Longmont. He started his career building and working in high-performing teams, including designing multi-million-dollar racing yachts and helping his clients win the world's most demanding yacht races. Now he brings his passion for building really great teams to business owners through the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, and the book, Traction. Steve helps business owners and leadership teams get unstuck, fuel growth, sail forward, and elevate to a more fun and profitable business. Steve, we're so grateful that you're here today, and I'll just let you take it away.
All right. Well, thanks, Yvonne. Thanks for inviting me here. And certainly, I'm going to be talking this morning about how we can grow your business through basically hiring the right team, because I've experienced a lot in my career about getting that truly great team can help you meet your goals. So I'd like to go ahead and share my screen. Probably need you to, there we go. Screen. All right, so I work with a lot of different type of businesses, and some of the most common questions that really come up as businesses want to scale and grow is, who do I need to hire? How do I grow? When should I hire? When should I be hiring that next person? And, what should they be doing when they come on into the business? So I'm going to talk about that today and give some specific tools that we use in EOS to be able to help you with that. And I have a simple promise that, they should be able to get one tool, one concept that you can take away from today's talk and go and implement tomorrow in your business, and things are going to get better. So that's my promise to you. The agenda, what I'm going to cover this morning, three things here. First off, I call it getting real. I just want to take a step back and sort of re-look at like what's going on in the business, and then so we can start to move forward and talk about what we can do about that. I'm going to keep it simple. So this means this is just, there's no fads or the latest sort of Harvard Business Review stuff. These are just simple, practical tools that have been proven to work that I'm talking about. And then finally, I'm going to talk about getting results, right? I mean, focusing on the things that you need to focus on so you can walk out of this talk with a list of action steps that will make a difference and help you get a grip on your business. So to dive in and talking about getting real, I'm going to create some context. So everything I'm going to share with you today was developed by a gentleman called Gino Wickman. Gino's been an entrepreneur since the age of 21. At 25, he came and joined his father in his father's business. That business wasn't doing very well, so Gino actually ended up taking over the business. He executed a turnaround on it. They were able to successfully scale the business up and sell it. So after that, he became one of the first 10 founding members of the Detroit chapter of the Entrepreneurs Organization. There, he really found that he loved helping his fellow EO members with building their businesses, And he had something for the knack of the art and science of growing an entrepreneurial business. So he spent about 5 years cobbling together a set of tools, trying things, testing other things, and ended up developing EOS. Now, there's no magic pills or silver bullets in what Gino developed. These are just real world, time tested tools, some of which have been around for 100 years, and they're going to be around for hundreds more. These tools have been used by Gino, by myself, and 500 other professionally trained implementers in now over 130,000 one-day sessions across 22,000 businesses. And I say this, not to brag or anything, but just to really say that there's nothing theoretical about what I'm talking about today. These are simple, real-world tools that have been used very successfully. Before we dive in further, though, I would like to share a little bit more about my background and why I'm excited to be talking with you here today. So I had a really cool and interesting start to my career, like designing multi-million-dollar racing yachts and building and coaching teams to help our clients win some of the world's most demanding yacht races. And I learned a lot in those early years about what it took to be a great leader, about the incredible importance of processes and systems, and developed a deep passion and curiosity about what it took to build a really great team. I was on some amazing teams. We did incredible things, winning round the world yacht races. But I was also on some teams that didn't make it, despite having the resources that we needed. I've seen a $5 million racing yacht broken in half and about to sink beneath the waves because of team dysfunction. Now, I also spent 16 years rising to become a leader at the top yacht design company in the world. We grew that business from 10 to 22 staff. Then I found myself at the top and kind of no way to relearn more in that business. So I made a very difficult decision. I made the decision to leave that business, went into government contracting in Washington, D.C. I became a PMP certified project manager and learned how to manage multi-million-dollar budgets and much larger groups of people and help the US Navy launch ships into the fleet. And then 8 years ago, I decided it was time to get back to my entrepreneurial roots. So I founded my own business around this mission and passion to help people and teams and businesses get unstuck and sail forward. And along the way, I was introduced to Traction and EOS, and I immediately fell in love because here at last were the tools I wished I'd had back when I was faced with obstacles trying to grow the yacht design business. So today I'm a certified EOS implementer, and I just love helping business owners and leadership teams get unstuck and fuel growth and just really build a more fun and profitable place to work with your crew. And that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. So back to Gino. So as I was talking about, Gino spent 5 years working with his fellow EO members in Detroit, and really sort of saw after a period of time that, in about 19 out of 20 businesses, people have got their head down, they're running like heck, they're really working really hard to build their business, but they're feeling a little stuck. And they're not sure like really what's getting in their way, but they're becoming very frustrated about being able to move their business forward. And so, Gino, looking at, these 19 out of 20 businesses, he's a great simplifier, and he was able to sort of really see that there are 5 main frustrations that kind of get in the way of a lot of businesses. So I'm going to talk about that now just to give you some context. The first key frustration that Gino found was control, or lack of control, really is what we're talking about. And I see this as well, with prospects and clients that I'm working with, that you start off with yourself, you start hiring people, grow the business. When you get to around, 14, 15, 16 people, I hear people start saying now, I just don't have my arms around it anymore. It seems like the business is running me instead of I'm running the business. It's something around that 15, 16 people mark that I hear that being talked about a lot. So the sense like I just don't have control of the business anymore is frustrating. The second main frustration is profit, or not enough of it. Not enough profit to justify the time, the energy, and the emotional investment that's actually going into, running the business. And so often I'm seeing, that business owner, the founder, they're working 60 hours a week, 7 days a week, and just really not getting enough back to justify all of that going into the business. The third key frustration is people. People are frustrating, right? Your vendors, your suppliers, customers at times, sometimes people, contractors you have working in the business, person who's, in front of you on the freeway in the morning. People are frustrating. The thing is, if you're experiencing this, if you're feeling this, just know that you're normal, right? This is just a fact of life in many ways. But the good news is that we're going to talk today about some specific tools that you can put in place in the business to help sort of tamp down on some of that frustration. Fourth key frustration I'm talking about as well is something we call hitting the ceiling. So that's this idea that you've been, running along with your head down, running like heck in the business, and then you just sort of hit a ceiling, you get stuck, and not really sure like what's getting in the way there. And I've experienced this in business before, of being able to grow a business and get to, we got stuck at a certain revenue ceiling, just couldn't figure out how to be able to break through and grow the business beyond that. And then the fifth key frustration is nothing's working. You've been reading, the business journals, you've been buying those books at the airport bookstores and bringing stuff back and trying the new sort of management flavor of the month, but none of it actually really works. And so there's some frustration there. And so if any of this is resonating with you, just know that you're normal, right? That 95% of businesses deal with these frustrations every single day. And so now what I'm going to talk about is what we do as an antidote to that. What are some practical tools that I can give you to help break through these frustrations? So in the spirit of that, we're going to keep it simple, right? So as I'm talking about with Gino's story, right, 19 out of businesses feeling those frustrations, 1 out of 20 businesses, Gino sees, the business owners got their head down, the leadership team, they're running like heck, working really hard, but they're succeeding. They're actually moving the business forward towards its vision. And so Gino looked at those 1 out of 20 businesses and tried to figure out what are they doing right. And he discovered that there are 6 key components that business is doing that all fit together in a holistic way to address those 5 frustrations. And so I'm going to share these 6 key components that those businesses were doing really well, and also specifically, dive in on some more tools for that people component issue. So in sharing these 6 key components with you, I'm going to do this in the context of a model. We call this the EOS model, the entrepreneurial operating system model. And these 6 key components, are based around your business at the center of it. And this concept and this idea that as a busy leadership team, you've got 136 issues coming at you all at once every single day. And to the extent that we can strengthen these 6 key components in the business, then those 136 issues are just going to fall into place because they're symptoms. What I'm talking about here is really getting down to root causes in the business. So the first key component is the vision component. This is really like talking about like, what is the vision for your business? Where are you going long term and how are you going to get there? So often I see that somebody in the leadership team, maybe everybody in the leadership team has got a vision, but it's in their head and they're not really sharing it and talking about it as much as we could be in the business. So getting that vision out and shared by everybody in the business is so important. Then the second key component is this people component that we're talking about, because very simply, you can't bring a great vision to reality without having really great people in your business. So we're going to cut through all those terms out there like A players and superstars and top quartile. And when I work with my clients, we just get right to the heart of what makes a really great person for you in your business, because they are unique to you. And those are some of the tools we're talking about in a moment. The third key component is the data component. So this is about running your business on facts and figures and objective information, getting away from feelings and egos and all that sort of subjective stuff that so often gets in the way. And the thing is that when I'm working with my clients and we strengthen the vision and the people and the data components, then we start getting transparency into the organization. We start seeing the obstacles, the things that are getting in your way, the stuff that's slowing you down, the things that are ticking you off. And that's great. We actually want to see that stuff. We want to have it come bubble up to the surface, because in the fourth key component, we call this the issues component. This is about getting really great as a leadership team, about being able to identify your issues, to prioritize them, to set those things up and then solve them, knock them down, and get them out of your way for the long-term health of the business. Then the fifth key component is the process component. And this is all about getting the important stuff done in your business the best way and the right way every single time. And when you get that consistency in the business, then you get scalability, right? And the business does become easier to manage and more fun and more profitable. And who wouldn't want that? And then the sixth key component is the traction component. This is about bringing your vision down to the ground and executing with discipline and accountability day in and day out in the business. In EOS, we say vision without traction is hallucination. And I've been there. I've sat around, we've talked about strategic plans and vision all day long. Get to the end of the year, what happened, right? We didn't make it. And I see now it's because we didn't have those traction tools that I am talking about. So that's the overall EOS model to create context. And when I'm talking about strengthening these components, we measure our progress. And when I'm working with my clients, we measure our progress using a scientific but subjective scale of 0 to 100%. And I work to help my clients get to 100% strong in each one of these 6 key components. But it's also hard to do that. And that is a bit of utopia. So our real goal is to work to get to 80% strong in each of these 6 key components. The fact is that most businesses are kind of moving along at about 20% strong, kind of succeeding in spite of themselves. So that's what I'm talking about here, is going on a journey, getting to 80% strong. And what I see and what I believe is, when you run a better business, then you lead a better life. They are not separate. So what are some practical tools that actually help you get there? So tool number 1 I'm going to talk about is something that I call delegate and elevate. And so where this comes from is this idea that you started a business, right? You've got this great idea and you start a business by yourself, and you start making your product or your service, you start selling things, and miracles happen and the business starts growing, right? This is what we're here for. And so then you find that you need to clone yourself, right? You need to bring some more people into the business, somebody to come and help you, with sales or operations or finance, right? So you need to clone yourself so you can keep growing the business. And then as the business grows larger, those people need to clone themselves, right? As we keep on bringing people in and growing the business. So the question is, how do I clone myself, right? What should those people be doing? Who should I be bringing into the business that allows me to do that? And so the concept we talk about here is this delegate and elevate. As you're growing the business, you constantly, as a leader of the business, need to be looking to, how do I elevate myself, right? How do I get out of the weeds and start, get to a higher altitude, look at a further horizon there, so I can be really figuring out, where's the vision for my business? Where should we be going? And the way we get out of the weeds is to delegate work, right? To be able to bring somebody else on who can take work from us. So the practical way of being able to go about doing this, because I know, delegation is a difficult thing. I've experienced that in my past. So here's some practical tools about how you actually go about doing that. So my recommendation as a coach is to take some time one day, go sit in a coffee shop and sit down with a sheet of paper and write down like, oh, here's all of the stuff that I'm doing in my business on a weekly basis, right? Get that whole big laundry list of everything mapped out. And so you can look at it and so you can assess it. And then part of doing that exercise too is like, what does all this take to do, right? I mean, if I just listed down like 80 hours worth of work that needs to be done, and then have a think to yourself about, how much time are you willing to devote to your business? We live here in Colorado. This is a lovely place. There's some mountains out there, hiking, mountain biking, skiing, all of that good stuff. Maybe you want some time to be doing more of those things. So how much does all of the work take? And then how much am I prepared to do in the business? And if there's a gap there, obviously we need to do something about it in terms of hiring and getting work delegated. And then the next question is, what should I be delegating? So I'm putting up a quadrant here on the page. There's 4 squares on this quadrant here. And we're going to take all of the stuff that you've put in your list, and we're going to put each one of those items into one of these 4 quadrants. The bottom right-hand quadrant, this is where you put all the stuff you don't like doing and you're not good at, right? There's somebody else in this world who's better at doing some of this stuff than you are. In the bottom left-hand quadrant is the stuff you don't like doing, but maybe you are good at it. And so this is unfortunately where a lot of people kind of end up getting bogged down to spending all of their weeks doing stuff that they don't really enjoy that much. In the top right-hand quadrant, we put the stuff that you like doing and you're pretty good at it. And this is not an unreasonable place to spend, your working life. But then the top left quadrant, this is the stuff that you love doing and the stuff that you're really great at. You really want to be spending as much of your time in that top left quadrant as you can. What I see in working with clients is people talk a lot about, I don't have enough time, right? But I see it actually being more of an energy issue. And when you're doing the stuff that you love doing and you're really great at, boy, you have so much energy to bring to doing that stuff. And the stuff you don't like doing and you're not good at, that's the stuff you procrastinate on. It sucks away at your energy, drags you down. So let's get you working in that top left quadrant. And so the stuff that's in those 2 bottom quadrants, that's the work that you need to get delegated out. And so you can be spending your time working in your area of unique ability. All right, so then having mapped that out, now I'm going to give you another tool for how we actually take what's in those bottom 2 quadrants and put them into creating a function in the business so that you can hire somebody and delegate the work to. And so this next tool I'm talking about is the accountability chart. And in EOS, we take a structure first, people second approach to really figuring out like what's the right structure for the business. And the accountability chart is based around another concept that we see. And that concept is that every business has to be really great in like 3 main functions, right? So we need to be really great at marketing and sales. You need to be able to go out there into the marketplace, brand your business, create demand, and then bring that demand back into sales and to close business into your operations. And so the second key component that you've got to be really great at is the operations component. Being really great about being able to make your product or deliver your service. And you've got to be really great at finance, right? You've got to be tracking the money coming in and out of the organization and managing the assets. So we've got to be really great in each one of these 3 areas. And then we have a 4th major function that we call the integrator. The integrator is the person who beats the drum for the organization. They're the glue that holds everything together, and they harmoniously integrate across that leadership team. And then we have a 5th major function that we call a visionary. Visionaries are people who are at the 30,000 foot level. They have 20 new ideas before breakfast every single morning. They love managing the big relationships of the business. They love solving problems, but they just don't like getting down in the weeds and kind of getting stuck in those difficult conversations. That's the job for the integrator. So I'm bringing this up to just sort of talk about a structure for how everything gets done in the business and talking about functions, right? So this is not an organization chart with titles, because ego kind of gets all wrapped up in the, I'm the director of marketing title. So instead we talk about functions. And this function of marketing is like what needs to get done. So we customize it and get it right for you, but ultimately in defining each one of these functions, then we map out 5 main roles that function is accountable for getting done. And then we go about putting a name in that seat. And so how does this work more practically? So taking that marketing and sales example, you can map out, what's marketing and sales accountable for: strategy, marketing, hitting the sales numbers, selling, all of those things. And where this matches up with the delegate and elevate tool is maybe you might have put on the bottom 2 quadrants a bunch of those marketing and sales things. What I see quite often is the original business founder or owner is still doing something like marketing or sales, and you want to get out of that seat, right? You want to be able to elevate yourself up. So let's pull out all of the things that you don't like doing in marketing and sales, put them into this function description here, what these roles are, and then we can go hire somebody and put a name in that seat that's not yours. So then the third main tool that I'm going to talk about is based on this concept called right people, right seats. So 20 years ago, Jim Collins actually analyzed, what made really great businesses, really great sustainable businesses. And he wrote all of that in his book, Good to Great. And he talked about a concept called right people, right seats, and said you have to have both to build a really great business. And so in EOS, we have a whole bunch of tools that make this tangible, like bring this down to the ground. How do we actually execute this in the business? And the tool that I'm specifically going to talk about now is the People Analyzer. Before I get there, I just want to make sure that we've got our definitions clear about this. So who are right people? Well, right people are people who share your organization's core values. They fit your culture like a glove. And so I work with my clients to really spend time discovering and defining like what are your core values, and really defining like who you guys are at your core and what you want from the culture of the organization. And then in EOS, we just have a whole bunch of tools and systems that really kind of bake in, how we discover, define, and really live and breathe your core values day to day in the business. These are not things that are just put up on the wall and no one ever looks at them again. You use your core values every single day in the business to be able to really build your culture. And that's where we're getting right people who fit that. And then right seats are people who are really great at their job, right? That function that you're asking them to do. They've got the talent, the skills, the experience, the expertise to be really great at that role. And the way we get to that is through this filter. We call it GWC. G stands for gets it, W stands for wants it, C means you've got the capacity to do it. So gets it means somebody fundamentally gets the job, right? They've got an innate understanding and ability to do the job. When you explain the job to them, you can see their eyes are lighting up. You can see the neurons in their brain are connecting. They get the job. Then wants it means they're rolling out of bed every morning, wanting to come do this work, right? And then finally, the capacity means you've got the talent, the skills, the experience to be really great at the job. And what I see in working with my clients, and we see generally in our work with EOS, is you can't pay people to get it or to want it. It's got to come from internally. It's got to come from inside them. But the capacity, this is where you can see like, okay, I can get a really, great person here and I can maybe train them up. I can send them to class, and I coach them to get to having the capacity that they need in the job if you see that potential there. So how does this look in reality? My first job out of college, I was on a professional sailing team. And one of the functions on the accountability chart was navigation. There are 5 main roles that were associated with that function of navigation. And my name was put in that seat when we were getting this boat ready in our training. And it was all going very well until we were going to sail from New Zealand to Australia, which I'm originally from New Zealand. And first day of the voyage went okay, but then we went around the top of the northern part of New Zealand, and this is where the Tasman Sea and the Pacific Ocean meet. It gets pretty rough there. I'm sitting down below in the boat trying to read the charts and navigate, and I start not feeling very well. And guess what? I got seasick, really badly seasick. And so, I got the job, I wanted the job, but I didn't have the capacity to be a navigator for a high performance race boat because I wasn't able to, sit down below and do that job. So unfortunately, I didn't get to navigate the boat around the world, but I did get to come to America here and design the boats. And so that was my life, and here I am today. So drilling down further, very specifically, talking about like this tool, the People Analyzer, how do we actually get all of this matched up to get the right people in the right seats? So we use this tool, mapping out your core values along the top. You list out all of the people in your organization, and then you go about assessing everybody in the organization about in black and white about how they're doing with consistently meeting the core values. A plus means most of the time, plus minus means some of the time, and a minus means rarely. And then we also set a bar, like what is the minimum that we need to have that defines a right person for the organization. And what this does is it really facilitates a clear and effective communication with people about where they're succeeding and where there's room for improvement. And it helps you really drive the culture and get everybody in your business to see that they are the right people in the organization. And then we also go about mapping out the gets it, wants it capacity, right? The right seats component of this, and assessing how's everybody doing with that. And the bar typically is we want 3 yeses. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? So we use this tool to objectively figure out, do you have the right people in the right seats? Now, along the way, you're going to encounter a couple of different types of people issues. So there's going to be potentially the first one that can come up is what we call right person, wrong seat. So this is somebody who's you really love. They fit the culture of your organization like a glove, but they're just not doing the right thing in the business. So good news is hopefully you can find another place for them in the business. If not, this is where you might have to make a very difficult decision, because if you truly are a for-profit business, you can't just keep people around just because you happen to like them. Then the second issue that might come up in this is what we call wrong person, right seat. So this is somebody that they're really great at their job. They're knocking the ball out of the ballpark, but they just don't fit the culture of your organization very well. So here again, if you're encountering this, and I feel like this is where I ran into this several times with some of these high-performing teams. We're bringing Olympic class medalists and like top flight performers, the best boat builders and the designers, but putting everybody in a room together didn't necessarily mean they were going to work together. So identifying those wrong person, right seats is really critical. And once again, if you do identify that, then you need to make a difficult decision for the long-term health of the business. So I guess I'll just check the chat here. Make sure there's any questions. All right, good. So this last component here is about getting results in the business, because that's what EOS is all about. It's all about execution. This is not theory, this is boots on the ground. How do we end up taking action in the business? And so the three tools that I've covered today, first off, delegate and elevate, right? How do you figure out what it is that you need to do to be able to elevate yourself and to delegate work? Then with the accountability chart, this is where you figure out where that work needs to be done optimally in the organization and what are the roles and responsibilities with that. And then you use this people analyzer tool to be able to figure out how we get a right person who fits your core values in that right seat where they're executing really well. And with those tools, that's how you strengthen the people component and really help you be able to grow your business. So I've just covered, one component out of the 6 in the EOS model. Overall, we have 20 tools that we end up teaching and facilitating a leadership team on how to be able to grow their business forward. So if any of this is resonating with you today and you would like to learn more, there are resources available at eosworldwide.com. We've got something we call the Traction Library. We have a whole series of books covering a lot of different aspects of the business. So there's Traction itself, which covers the overall EOS model. We've got Rocket Fuel, which covers the relationship between the visionary and the integrator, because when we get that right, it's rocket fuel taking the business forward. We've got a book about how to be a great boss, because what I see often with my clients is as we're elevating everybody up, then we're bringing people up to become mid-level managers and department heads, and we need to teach them how to be a really great boss, and there are tools in that book that help with that. And then developing the processes in your business. All of these are very important things. There's a lot of downloadable tools and videos available at eosworldwide.com. We also have something called Basecamp that you can get into. And of course, there are folks like myself, certified EOS implementers, who can come and help you put all of this, install all of these tools into your business. So with that, with real simple results, that's what I have for you this morning. And my contact details are there, steve.morris@eosworldwide.com. My phone number, always welcome to reach out. So any questions?
Well, I do have a question. I wondered about, yeah, super helpful. I agree with you, AJ. Is it hard for people to use like the people analyzer and then put their employees and rate them? I mean, I would think that would be a hard, like, mental thought to do, not hard to, do you know what I mean? To think that that's important to do. How do you kind of get people past that concern?
Well, I'm creating a whole environment and working with a team about, open and honest and really sort of really assessing, where people are in terms of fitting with the team. And Jim Collins addressed this in Good to Great as well. Really talking about there's a place for everybody, right? And sometimes we tend to, and I've been here as well, we tend to keep people on too long who aren't fitting with the team, because we don't want to make that difficult decision to help them find another place. And Jim Collins really saw this, and he's written about this, that you're doing that person a disservice, actually, because there is somewhere else where they probably will fit better with the team. And so just really sort of understanding that, I think, kind of gets people over that hump of doing, this is not a difficult thing. We're really trying to figure out, like, how can we really help people get to their, best and highest place that they can work in. And I think also what I've seen too is that oftentimes, that feeling of being stuck that I talked about right at the beginning, my clients, use this tool to great effect to really kind of like figure out, like, why are we getting stuck? And to really kind of see, like, okay, yeah, I've got somebody here who's just not gelling with the team, and there's a function that's not moving forward. So I think ultimately, in running a for-profit business, you've got to have the business be sustainable. We got to get to a bottom line that makes it work for everyone. And so there's good motivation in that.
Oh, absolutely. I worked, I'm 63, so I've worked in the world of work a long, long time, and I have helped people to move on because they didn't fit in. I mean, I believe in Jim Collins and this as
Yeah.
well. And sometimes I've received calls 10 years later who said the best thing you did was help me to move on because I've been super happy. Or I had an employee who just really her social work degree was not being used in the way that she wanted to do it. And she called me a couple years later and said, you actually helped me. I went off and got my licensed clinical social worker and I have my own practice and thank you. Right. And so I
Yeah.
agree with you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Sally and AJ, do you have any questions before we close for today? I think AJ has some comments here in the chat for
Oh,
you.
sorry. Okay.
That's all right.
Need to keep my chat window open. You may reach out once they download on the file. Yeah. Yes, I'll put together a set of slides, and I do just want to say that some of this is proprietary, so I'll get what I can share and send that to you, and then please just reach out because I can always go in more depth and just really sort of understand, what people need, and if you're feeling stuck, where you're feeling stuck, and what's the tool that we can use to get unstuck.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. This really is I know some of our board members use the EOS system and are very, very happy in their businesses and feel like it is the step that has elevated their business. So I'm glad that you could share that with us today. And thank you so much for joining our Tuesday Talent Series. Next week on October 3rd, our session will be Cultivating Cultures of Care, the Power of Compassion at Work. And I know it's all about creating good cultures and
Yeah.
it's a little bit hard these days. We're running short and we have supply chain issues or whatever that might be. And so maybe having a little compassion with each other might actually help our culture. So thought that would be a good session. We have Katie Huey from Trebuchet who's joining us next week. So be sure if you want to join that to register. Thank you again, Steve. This has been an awesome session. And for those of you on the session today, we will send out the slides and the recording for you. So awesome. Great. Well, have a good
Thank you,
rest of your
Dawn.
day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.